This meeting is being recorded.
So today we have attorney Jyotsana Balakrishnan. Can you start by just telling us how long you've been an attorney and what's your occupation, where do you work?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't get it.
Just start. Can you just start about telling about yourself? Where do you work?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I'm an attorney who specializes in corporate laws and intellectual property law. So I work with businesses in trying to guide them and advise them on various issues and transactions that they're doing in running their businesses, including mergers and acquisitions, joint ventures, and equity and debt financings. So I'm a partner at Jaffe Ratier and Wise, which is a U.S. law firm. But I graduated. I did my LLB, BLLB from National Law School, Bangalore, and then I worked for 3 years in India at Anand and Anand. And then I did my LLM at Columbia Law School with a focus on business laws. And then I did my MA in international law
Jyotsana. Oh,
Hi, sorry, I think it froze. I can see you now.
yeah. Okay. So my first question for you is, what made you want to be an attorney?
What made me become a lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So from since I was young, I grew up in a family which was surrounded by books all the time, and my parents and grandparents, we when we sat around the table, we not just discussed what happened in school, but also everything going on in the world. So it be it like politics, economics, social issues. It was everything was discussed and debated, and that's sort of the atmosphere I grew in, which I really enjoyed a lot. And as I grew and I was in school, some of the things that I enjoyed doing were writing. I felt like that was a very great way to express myself. And so I really did well in a number of essay competitions and was encouraged by my teachers too. And the other thing I really enjoyed was just I was very I was a quizzer in school, so really enjoyed staying abreast of all current affairs, and was being knowing what's happening in society and things. So as I grew up, and of course, when you reach 11th, 12th, you need to start thinking what you need to do. So as it happened, we'd visited Bangalore around that time, and my dad said, there is this institute there. Why don't we go visit it? So we toured National Law School. I just loved the place, and I like the idea that you're not just going to study law, but also you have to study economics, social political science, sociology. So all of those things are so important to understand society and become a lawyer. So I just sat for the entrance exam, got in, and I think no looking back. So that's sort of my journey about how I decided to become a lawyer.
It's great. Our next question is, was so you've already answered this. Does one need to take any prerequisites before applying to law school?
um, Sorry, it didn't come through. Does one need a mentor? Is that what you asked?
No. So does one need to take any prerequisites, like any high school classes, to get into law school
Oh, okay.
specifically?
Okay, so I think so I'm not sure what classes you have available, but I think what helps is to, like I said, be aware of what's going on. And of course, when you look at, there are so many legal issues that you see in your everyday lives, right? So, and in newspapers, for instance, you look at different things going on, and almost everything has a legal issue, and a lot of important legal cases which are receiving a lot of coverage. Try to understand what the issues are, try to understand different sides of the issue, because I think a lot of times we read something and we just say, oh, this is what it is and this is what we think. But I think as a lawyer, you really need to put some distance between yourself and the issue and see, what's the other side thinking about it. Because that's, I think, a common man is just going to look at one side and just go with it. But it's really important to develop your critical sort of thinking skills and challenging yourself and saying, okay, this is what I think or what I feel, but let me see what the other side is saying, and try to understand it more deeply. So so that really helps. And of course, taking up every sort of speaking opportunity, writing opportunity, because I think being a lawyer means you have to really express yourself, convey your opinion to the other side, and whether it's a judge or a client. So that's what really helps. So I think those trying to develop those skills and also your critical thinking skills really helps.
Okay. So many say that law school is highly exhausting. Did you have a similar experience?
Um, so I think when I look back, the first year when I joined, so I did a five-year program. I know some programs are 3 years. So, but in either case, I think the first year is very. I thought it was very overwhelming. The first few months, especially because, of course, a lot of times you're away from home. It's a completely different atmosphere than school, because school, you have a certain syllabus, it's covered, and then you have exams, and that's what, at least when I was in school, it was all about. But in law school, it's a completely different sort of system. So you have projects that you have to, there are a lot of deadlines on the one hand, which I think is not as much in school. On the other hand, there are also a lot of different activities. There is moot court, there is law journal review boards, there is legal aid. So I think it's about seeing, and I think it's important to try out everything, but you only have so much time. So in the first year, you try out all these different things, and then the first year becomes like really exhausting. But then by second year, I think you start finding your footing in terms of what you like, what you want to do. So then maybe you can focus on moot court or the journal review board. For me, writing was very exciting, and so I did legal aid, which is helping sort of the poorer sections of society. We had a committee on that. We used to do that, as well as the editorial board. So I was on the editorial board for two journals as well. So I decided, this is what I like, so that's what I'm going to focus on. So after the first year, it becomes a lot more fun, because then you kind of know, okay, this is how the system works, this is how I'm going to do it. So I think the important thing is to just stick on that first year and keep going, because it can be very sort of sometimes you face disappointments, it can be overwhelming, but just to know that it's going to get better and you're going to start enjoying yourself.
Okay. So one thing that comes to mind when many people think about law school is the debt, especially if you study abroad. Did you have to worry about it too?
So for me, yeah, if you do your undergrad, if you're going to do like a JD, so here it's called, of course, LLB, there it's called the JD, which is a 4-year program. It is very, very expensive. Especially the top tier law schools. And especially I know with the exchange rate now, there is that additional factor to consider as well. But then I think there are a lot of scholarships. So if you get, financial aid and scholarships, then it makes sense at the JD level. But otherwise, I think there are a lot of really good law schools in India for your LLB. As soon as I think it makes sense to do that in India, because if you do your LLB, then you can if funds are not a concern and you get the admission in a law school you like, then you could go abroad. But otherwise, I think an Indian law school also equips you to sort of go out there into the world and practice alongside anyone else. Um, so I would say, I think if funds are concerned, LLB in India, followed by some work experience, makes a lot of sense. That's what I did. That's the path I followed. And then it's definitely very, it's amazing to go out there and also get some exposure abroad. So, an LLM either in the United States or the UK, or I know some people who've also done it in Germany and things. So, that really sort of gives you another perspective as well. So I think that's helpful. And what else? So, and then I know a lot of people who also come back to India after that and got their career prospects are increased as well. So I think that sort of makes more sense if funds are a concern.
So is law school competitive? I mean, sure it is, but how is the environment like?
Yeah, it's very so I did it few 10, 15 years back. So but even then it is competitive, but I think it's important to have that sort of inner confidence and to know that you are worth it, and you have your own unique skills, because you're gonna, when you get into law school, there are, you know I think school is a different environment. Everyone's there, but when you get into law school and all of those people have got through the entrance exam and gotten there, they're all extremely, they're all driven, uh, definitely smart, of course, but very driven, very ambitious. And the instinct is to start comparing and say, oh my gosh, this person is like this person, how about me? But I think it's very important to know that you have a very unique set of skills, each person. And so to develop that inner confidence and just enjoy the whole law school environment and develop friendships which will really last a lifetime. So it is very competitive, but at the end of the day, it's not just about the grades. Grades are important in law school, but it's not just about that. It's about experiencing all the different activities, developing friendships, and just having that inner confidence to realize that you have there are so many opportunities outside of law school once you graduate, that you're going to find your path.
So uh, do you think it's important do you think it's important to have a mentor, especially for young women in this generation?
Yeah, definitely. I think it really helps because, um, when you graduate from law school, and whether you join a law firm or you start practicing with a lawyer or you join a company, anywhere you go, it's a very, you need someone to sort of guide you through, because it can be a very difficult sort of process to understand how does this place work, how does this law firm work. It's a, because one aspect of it is knowing the law and doing your work. The other aspect is to just understand the office dynamics and the business of law, because I think law is in a law firm or in a company or wherever you are working in a business setting where they're trying to generate money, and so you need to try to understand that process as well. So it really helps to have a mentor, because initially, just like I said, the first year of law school can be very overwhelming. The first year after, when you join work, is also very overwhelming, because you by the end of law school, you know it all in law school, but then you join the workplace, and it's also new, because you have to apply it in a practical context. So you really need someone to guide you through that process. Both men and women need it, but I think to the extent you're working in you're going to practice in the courts, there are fewer women, so it really helps to have a woman you can look up to, who's been there, done that, and who can really sort of share experiences and guide you through it. So I think it's really important important. Yeah.
A follow-up to that, did you have a mentor or do you have a mentor?
Sorry, have I had any mentors?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think at every stage I've had mentors. So, and when I first joined a law firm in New Delhi, it's Anand and Anand. It's a pretty reputed, IP law firm. Um, so I think I was I was just dying to start work and very competitive, very really wanted to make my mark. But so I had my the managing partner there. I got to work with him, but he was a very hard taskmaster. So I would work really hard on something and turn the brief over to him, and he'd like mark it up like crazy, with comments and changes and edits, and then I'd get it back. I remember the first time I got it back, I was like so sad because I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd messed up and missed so many points. But then somebody told me, this is him. He has so much experience. He's adding to what you're saying. So I worked really hard on those comments and turned it to him, and he was really happy with it. But I think to realize that the people who really give you hard comments and make you push you further are the ones who really make a big difference. Because now when I look back, every time I write something, I look back to the way he thinks, and how to edit it and how to not go on and on. Because I think as lawyers sometimes we over express ourselves. I think it's very important to condense whatever we are doing, edit it, have some clarity of thought into it. So he's one, because he really taught me how to think as a lawyer. So, and then in the same place, one of the senior female attorneys, she was also a fantastic person. And we were practicing in the Delhi High Court, and so just to kind of guide through and see how to present yourself to judges, how to sort of handle the caseload and clients, she really helped me too. So and then moving on, same with when I joined the US law firm I'm working in. Again, I there are two or three, one male partner and a female attorney. Both of them were very instrumental. They, in terms of encouraging me and trying to, making sure that I progressed in my, legal career. So I think it's really important. At the same time, while it's so important to have mentors, I think you should also, what was important for me to realize is that each one has their unique journey. So whatever they're telling you is from their perspective, but you need to sort of apply it to your own, how it works for your own circumstances.
Okay. Okay. So, can you describe a typical day in your life, just so we have a clear idea of your field of work?
Oh, sure. So I think in my law firm, so I would typically reach, actually it starts even earlier. So as soon as I get up, I would check my initial SOS messages, because a lot of times I'm working with clients in other countries. So I have like clients in India as well as in Europe, and other lawyers. So all of them, when you are in the US, all of them are working, would have worked in the night and sent messages. So just trying to get a grip on what's going on. And I think it's there. I think in India too, people are very quick at responses. In US, it's like the expected response time is really it's a very fast-paced work environment. I think that's the same in India too, but especially there, even if you're not giving a substantive response, people expect you to respond back and say, I got it and I'm going to get back to you. So so I do that, and then get to work around 8:30 or so. And then I think my first order of business is just to make sure I have my agenda for that day really, specified, because there's so many items, and then highlighting what's priority, what's not. And then just connecting with some associates that I work closely with on the status of, deals, because especially with M&A deals and equity financing, each one has a different sort of journey, so and a pace. So and I work with at least a few different associates and paralegals on each deal, and then meetings and conference calls for the remainder part of the day, negotiating transactions and meeting new clients. And then I'll make sure to keep at least an hour aside for catching up on new developments and making sure I know what's going on, as well as some business development, because as a lawyer, it's also very important to keep your online presence and keep abreast of what's going on, and reach out to new clients and things as well. So yeah, a lot of different components, calls, meetings, as well as substantive work as well.
Yeah, so a follow up on that. So, does your job require you to be quite versatile?
Require you to be versatile.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think I think law is such a, um, it's sort of constantly changing all the time, especially now with so many developments. There is, fintech. There is a lot of the businesses. One of my biggest clients is an ad tech company, which is doing a lot of new things. So with clients, each one is in a different business, and one is in insure tech, another in ad tech, another of the my clients who I work with closely is in pharmaceuticals. So it's like when you're representing them, of course I'm only representing them on legal issues, but I really need to understand their business as well. So in that sense, I really need to sort of know what's going on, make sure I understand from the business folks about what their concerns are, and also be aware of the happenings in the industry, so I can identify risks that they are going to face. So absolutely, I think you need to be really versatile. And also, like in India, in the US especially more so, there are a lot of based on the economic conditions, there are effects on the legal industry as well. So if the economy is doing really well, there are a lot of M&A transactions and people raising money and so forth. But if there is a recession, there are other sort of issues that come up where people may be filing bankruptcy. They may want to restructure their debt. So I think you need to be constantly aware of what's going on with clients and businesses and adapt to that.
So on average, how many hours per week do you work? Because there's a lot of hype that for lawyers, work-life balance is quite it, it fluctuates a lot.
Yeah, that's right. So I think so. Just to recap. So your question was how many hours on average a week
Yeah.
that you work, or okay. So I think if you're so you might have heard in law firms, especially, there is a billable target. So meaning that so if you're working you need, if you're work usually it's like 8 hours is a work day technically, although it's usually longer. uh, then you'll have like, at least if you're a partner, you'll have like 6.5 hour at a day you need to bill to clients, which is like which gets money to the law firm, right? And for associates it's more than that. And and it really varies, but that's sort of on average. But that's just the billable work. Besides that, you are trying to develop business, and then you are trying to keep doing research on your own and keeping abreast of what's going on, and then you're meeting people and doing that. So I would say there is a lot of fluctuation though. So if there are times when you're really involved in multiple transactions and gets really crazy, and there are other times when there are a few things going on but not as bad. So I would, sometimes if it gets really crazy, it's like more than 100 hours a week or so. And then on average though, around uh, I would say around 50, 60 hours a week on average. That's what I try to make, because otherwise, you just lose, you're not efficient anymore, because you need time for family, you need time for you need to, have other interests. Otherwise, you don't end up being a good lawyer as well.
Thank you for this. So, lastly, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give all aspiring attorneys?
So I would say, I think, as I said, try to, um, there are a few things to remember. I think one is, of course, like I said, try to develop skills to express yourself really more clearly. I think the new generation is really good at it. Like you speak really well, you write really well, and try to keep improving those skills, because I think one thing is what comes naturally to you, but also to even learn some of those skills as well also helps sharpen that. And then being aware of what's going on. I think what we realize is, a lot of the times, the way law school teaches us, for instance, like constitutional law and so forth, is a very Western perspective, because that's how it's been. So trying to bring the Indian perspective to each of, for instance, environmental issues and constitutional issues is really, I think it's the need of the hour. So trying to develop that. And also, I think in the longer term, when you when you finish law school and, start practicing, to also remember that it's really important to not just keep working, but also develop your brand, because by writing, by speaking, by being involved with community organizations and so forth, that's also really important, because at the end of the day, people need to know you as a lawyer and what you stand for. So I think, yeah, those would be the things I would I would advise people on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking out time for this.